Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Ashley Brown with the Office of Non-Traditional and Evening Services. Thank you for joining us and happy Veterans Day for all of you who are joining us this evening. Thank you for your service. What we are aiming to do today is have a recording, like a resource for students who are veterans that are returning to school, that need some help possibly transitioning to student life from being a veteran, and any advice and resources that you all can offer would be helpful to our students. And also, I would like to have you introduce yourselves and share your experiences with your military background. Pamela, did you want to say anything before we start?
No, no, I'm fine. I think you just kind of summed it up. So that's
Okay. Well, I do have some questions for everyone here, but before I start with the questions, Colonel Mahone, if you would like to start with introducing yourself and share your experience with service in your military background and how you ended up at Mercer.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Once again, my name is Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mahone. I'm a retired Air Defense Artillery officer. I served from 1978 until 2004, and that's when I retired and returned back home. I am originally from Griffin, Georgia, but we settled here in McDonough, Georgia, and I am so thankful and blessed to have connected with Mercer University. In my current role, I serve as the Director of Center Operations, and we have 4 of them. One in Henry County, and the other is in Douglas County. And in addition to those 2 remote centers, we have 2 other centers, one on the Atlanta campus that support our graduate and professional programs, and we have one on the traditional campus for students that are attending in the evenings there. I can tell you from my angle, when I joined the military, I really wanted to just be the best that I could be, and I wanted to be challenged. And so I picked the combat arms. That was the reason I raised my hand and asked to be an Air Defense Artillery officer. I knew it was going to be very exciting. It was going to be very challenging, and it certainly was. I can tell you that. My very first duty assignment was when I was in ROTC. We had this thing called advanced camp, and Colonel Washington, she knows all about the advanced camp. That is where juniors that are rising juniors going to their senior year, they would have to go to advanced camp. Now, I don't know where Colonel Washington went, but I went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and that was one heck of an eye-opener. It really made me realize that the military is a very serious place in which to serve, and it will stretch you to your limits, both physically and psychologically. I've had tours all over the world. Spent 3 years in Germany at nuclear weapons missile sites. Spent 3 years over in the Middle East at the embassy in Oman. I was dual-headed. I was a defense attaché, but I also worked in the Office of Military Cooperation, where we basically sold military items to the foreign government of Oman. After that particular assignment, I was transitioned back to the Naval Postgraduate School, where I taught at the School of International Graduate Studies and for the Defense Resources Management Institute. And that is where I retired. Then we returned here, and later got a great little job here at Mercer, doing something that I really love, and that is helping students to be successful.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Colonel Washington, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your military background?
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm Betty Washington. I am a retired Colonel 06 from the Army. I am a career logistician. I joined the Army in 1979, and I retired in 2010 here in Georgia with over 30 years of service. I have had logistics jobs at every level, both staff and command. I've had tactical company, battalion, and brigade level commands. And I have been a logistics officer at every level as well, including Army and DA, and also at the joint level. And so I've had jobs across the spectrum of being a professional logistician. I am from Mississippi, and I joined the Army after attending ROTC at a little place called Alcorn State University. And I joined ROTC quite by accident. Actually, it wasn't by accident. It was on purpose because I was lazy. So if you can imagine that, joining the Army because you're lazy. But ROTC was taught in Center Campus. So you could do ROTC or you could do one of the PT programs, which was at the gym. And the gym was the newest building on post, so on campus. So therefore it was the farthest away from the dorm. So I chose ROTC because it was right across the street from the cafeteria. And getting in ROTC and doing all the things, I decided, well, I'm gonna join. And so I came into the Army. Thinking that like many of us, you know, we were a poor family, and I wanted to go to grad school. So I joined the Army to get money so I could go to grad school. Then the Army decided they would send me to grad school. And so my contributions to this forum from a student perspective is I did grad school in uniform. And when the Army selected me for grad school, they said, okay, and we want you to apply to Cornell University. And I said, sure, no problem. Of course, I'll do that. Thinking there is no way. Cornell was the only people that accepted me, which I found interesting because they wanted me to get a degree in a science and my background was liberal arts. And so that tossed me to a different level and doing some other things in the Army once we completed that degree. As Scott, I've served during my military career, most of my time overseas, in Korea and Germany, only in the States here for schools. All of my hard time was done overseas. And I retired here in Georgia up at Fort Gillem, and have been in Georgia ever since.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you for joining us this evening. Mr. Ernest Farmer, if you would also do the same, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your military background, and how you ended up at Mercer.
Okay. I'm a retired Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, 26 years. My route to the military was a little bit different. After high school, I went to college. And at a young age, full of play and fun and things of that sort, I decided to stop messing up my parents' money because I was coming from a single parent household. So I said, you know what, let me just stop messing up and get out of Phoenix City, Alabama, because that's where I was living, and decided to join the military. Well, my mother was completely against it because this was during the time of the Vietnam War. And she thought for sure, hey, you join the military, they're going to send you overseas, you're going to die, and I'll never see you again. It's quite the opposite. And the reason I chose the Air Force is because I did realize, I did my homework, that weren't too many Air Force folks on the ground fighting during that time. So that's why I decided to join the Air Force. And my career field was that of personnel and admin. And I enjoyed it because that's where I learned a very important thing, that no job is complete until the paperwork's done. No aircraft can take off without having the paperwork completed, making certain that everything was in proper order. So I played a vital part in that, in making certain that aircraft and well, at least all the paperwork was done and brought in before I could say, yep, y'all can fly. So it caused me to have a sense of great responsibility. But during that time, I changed from admin to behavioral health because I was interested in people. And during that time, I was also going to school at night. And that's one of the areas that caught my attention. So I continued in behavioral health, earned my degree while I was on active duty, well, attending school while I was on active duty. And after and I also completed my degree while I was in. And afterwards, that's when after my tour was over in 2011, time for me to retire, that's when I decided, you know, I want to pursue this a little bit more because it's an interesting field to me in understanding and working with people. So that's where I got my master's in interdisciplinary, which is a combination of behavioral health and some sociology. And I'm a people's person, so I enjoy it. And coming toward Mercer, I ended up here in McDonough, Georgia. And in doing so, that's where I got connected with Lieutenant Colonel Mahone at Wesley Chapel United Methodist Church. And that's also where I also connected up with Colonel Washington. So it was a pleasure to me because there were a lot of veterans at the church. And that's where I started thinking, you know what? We understand each other being veterans. So formulated a veterans ministry, and it became a very close unit for us. Yeah. And also being able to provide services to the community as far as retired veterans and veterans that needed assistance and things of that sort. And that's how I ended up making my connection with Mercer University. And here I am the center coordinator. Again, that fits right into my area of subject matter expertise to me, which is working with our evening students. And I let our students know that anytime they attend Mercer University, that I am here for them. And I take it very seriously to assist and help them because our adult learning students, they're taking a different path and they experience different challenges. Just as once I got out of the military, I returned back to school again. And in making that transition, that's where you have to develop a plan of action for yourself, to be committed to it. And that's, it can be challenging. And that's one of the things that I really like to stress upon our students, to let them know that you've got to, you know, develop a plan. Because a lot of people, they don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. And that's one of the things I like to stress to them, that that's an important factor. And you're gonna have little bumps in the road, but you've got to be committed to stick to your goal.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer. That kind of leads into my first question for all of you. But before we go on, I do want to acknowledge Dr. Booker, who is on the line with us. She is the Director of Diversity and Inclusion Initiatives at Mercer. And she was instrumental in helping me put this kind of mini panel together as a resource for students. I don't know if she, well, let's see, I can't see a video. I don't know if she wanted to say anything.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so thank you
so much. This is awesome. And thank you to all our veterans for being a part of this panel. We truly appreciate you. And thank you to Ms. Brown and Mrs. Brown for hosting and moderating tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining us. So my first question for any who wants to answer, and you already touched on it a little bit, Mr. Farmer. Some of these questions are going to be geared specifically towards Mercer students and Mercer resources, but just to start off, what do you all think is the biggest challenge for a veteran student transitioning to a life of academics, if they're used to such a regimented routine, a little bit more structure? What are some of the things that you all maybe have encountered personally, or some of the students that you work with have said, or some of the challenges that they have faced?
I'll lead off with that because I do have students that come in, and in attending Mercer, first of all, our I'd say the way our program is structured a little bit different from other universities. So they're challenged in understanding the Canvas, and also just making the adjustment from their personal life, their work life, acquiring now an academic life, and being able to plan it. And that's where I strongly recommend to them that they need to, write out an agenda for themselves. They need to take out personal time for themselves, which is a key factor, because a lot of them get caught up in, I've got to study. And during that time period, they lose themselves and not able to really take their time to comprehend what's being taught to them, and have a tendency to want to remember the formulas or remember whatever the professor has said to them. And I've explained to them that trying to memorize your course of study is a setup for failure. It's a matter of learning to understand. And if you can understand the material and ask questions and relate it to real life, it makes it a lot simpler. And that way they can comprehend and not try to memorize it, but know their information.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I had the wonderful privilege of crafting a letter for President Underwood back here in April of this year, April 8th, in fact. And it went to the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Innovation and Improvement, to the military affairs team up there in DC. And this is sort of, I'm going to give you a few snippets in terms of the 8 keys to veteran success that we wrote in this letter, and he approved. We start out by saying that Mercer University is encouraged to support service members, veterans, and military families, and thus affirm support for the 8 keys to veteran success. And it goes on to say that this university recognizes the significant value that student veterans bring to our campus, and believe that it is vitally important that we ensure that veterans receive the best possible educational experience. And so we were committed to implementing and sharing and promising practices such as, and here are these 8 little bullets that we put in here. Bullet number 1, to create a culture of trust and connectedness across the campus community to promote well-being and success for veterans. Bullet 2, ensure consistent and sustained support for veterans from campus leadership. And that was key. Number 3, implement an early alert system to ensure all veterans receive academic, career, and financial advice before challenges becomes overwhelming, just like Mr. Farmer was saying. Number 4, it says coordinate and centralize campus efforts for all veterans together with the creation of a designated space, even if limited in size. Number 5, collaborate with local communities and organizations, including government agencies, to align and coordinate various services for veterans. Number 6, utilize a uniform set of data tools to collect and track the information on veterans, including demographics, retention, and degree completion. And number 7 says provide comprehensive professional development for faculty and staff on issues and challenges unique to veterans. And the last one was develop systems that ensure sustainability of effective practices for our veterans. Now that is the plan at Mercer University, and he signed it, and we sent it off to Washington, D.C. on the 8th of April. Truly, veterans they have our back, the leadership, and they understand that we come with very unique challenges, but we do have systems in place to help us to make sure that they don't fall through the cracks.
Oh, thank you for that. I was trying to write them as quickly as you were reading them. But
I will share this with you, okay?
yes, please share that,
Yes, ma'am.
because I do have some questions about kind of what you mentioned. But Colonel Washington, did you have anything you wanted to add as far as challenges that you may have faced or that you've seen students face when they're coming in from being transitioning from being a veteran to a student?
No, I think everything has been covered pretty well. Just to emphasize, planning just in any situation, and in the routine of the change that's necessary, the discipline, applying discipline to the effort of education.
Yeah.
And so discipline is what we know, even in the Air Force. But I have to get that little jab in there. But it has to be applied differently for academics to ensure that you're meeting the objectives that you want and need to achieve.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I did want to kind of touch on a few of the points that I was able to write down while you were speaking, Colonel Mahone. The first one, when you said create a culture of trust, I know, or from some of the readings that I've done, is that with some of the veteran students, you have to capture them on like day one, first day, or if you don't, they'll lose interest or they won't feel that they can ask you for help. So myself, Ms. Pamela Brown, and other resources here on campus, like that first week for Welcome Back Week, or even the first week of classes, what are some things that you think that campus resources can do to help cultivate that culture of trust that you were speaking about, and let them know that we are here for you? I know myself, I've had a handful of veteran students flow through the ONES program, and they don't seem to need that much assistance. I don't know if because they don't want to ask, or they're just, like you said, not used to asking. So what is one way that these campus departments can create that culture of trust, especially capturing them like within that first week or when we first interact with them?
Yeah. That's a very good question, Ashley. Thank you. I think, like Colonel Washington was saying, it's all about taking that energy and turning it into something that they can use during their academic journey. I've spoken with veterans at new student orientations who are sort of timidly afraid to identify themselves as a vet. Why that is, I don't know, because I normally ask them, and some will raise their hand, some will not. And we ask that as they're registering, if they would identify themselves. Some do, some don't. And I just think that what we must do, particularly at these centers, is to continue to engage with them, let them know that we have a world-class bunch of individuals who understand the nuances of the VA system. We have worked very, very hard to make it very transparent, make it very understandable, because many times students really don't understand their benefits. And so they'll come in here not realizing that, if you're rated at 100% and you come to one of the regional academic centers, you're going to get enough tuition to where you have to pay nothing. And you're going to get a nice little stipend every month, about $1,200, and $1,000 a year for books. And they like, oh, well, how do I do that? Instead of just depending on Pell Grants and things like that. So I think there needs to be more education. as we capture them and let them know, and we got good people on the ground in Macon. We have Miss Denise Frazier. She's our VA certifying official there. She supports the centers as well as Macon. Now, here's something that we may want to talk about is how do we get her out of Macon sometimes to come to new student orientations to talk to students. To be frank and honest, I worked with Denise Frazier now for a long time, and I've never personally seen her, never met her. I've seen her on Zoom, but I never physically met her, and she's never been to any of the centers. But she supports our veterans at the centers, as well as the one in Macon. Dinah Hill is in Atlanta. She's our VA certifying official. She's the registrar for the Atlanta campus. She's never been here either, or Douglas. And so I think there needs to be a bit more accountability. I think if our students saw the people who were managing their records, I think that would be a great step. But I realize everybody's busy, because that's what they always tell me. I'm so busy. Because right now we have a record number of veterans that we have at Mercer. We have 359 veterans as of today at 4:00 p.m. And that's the most veterans that we've ever had at this university. Last year we had in 2020 we had 344. In 2017, just to give you some context, we had 183.
Wow.
2018, 235. 2019, 275. 2020, 344. 2021, when this was done, as of September 2nd, we had 355. And as of today, we got 359. So our population is going in the right direction. The word is out there that Mercer is a military-friendly school. And so we just have to capture them where they are and help them to understand that they have great resources. Mr. Farmer used to work for the VA. And so, he's an expert right there. So that's another resource. So, yeah.
And I know one of the
I think I see Laurie, Dr. Lincoln.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. But I'm not a veteran. And in fact, I went to college during the Vietnam War, and I was a protester.
Protester.
So you may want to shut me off now. Actually. That would be okay. I would understand it. But, I think times have really changed, and I've changed. And one of the things, I've worked with a lot of veterans as a teacher and as a counselor back at Mercer and before that too, at my last job. And I started noticing, especially with the working adult program, that some of the best students in our program were veterans. And especially when I got to doing the HR program, there were so many people who were kind of like Mr. Farmer. They had done really a lot of HR type work in the military, and now they wanted to be able to do it as a career out in the country. Right. And I also had people in human services, who wanted to really be helpful. As a counselor, one of the things I think is a special issue is that a lot of veterans have PTSD.
Yes, ma'am.
And lots of issues related to that. So I think that that's for them to understand disability services, that's another one that I think that could be very helpful. And as a therapist, I worked with students at Mercer and at my other college who had PTSD and had special issues. So I think there's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of figuring out how to be successful at a place like Mercer. Yeah. And you guys have come up with really some wonderful strategies. One of the things I'm thinking of is that, and you really got me thinking about this, is to deal with people at the very beginning. Ashley, you mentioned that, like from day one, or actually before day one. And to think about how do we, and I don't know anymore because I've kind of lost track of it, but how do we connect with those people who might need us? And it's also the family members too, who are dependents. That would be even more people, I guess, than we had in your list, Scott. But I'm thinking that in the working adult program, we have UNIV 110 for new students. And in the Macon residential, we have, let's see what it's called, UNV 101. And many of the graduate programs have these intro classes. And it just seems to me that that might be a good, really,
Yes,
to have something connected. And you know, Scott, I think it'd be great if people got to meet those folks. But for at least in the centers, most of our students were online
yes, ma'am.
much of the time. And so, but there's ways to connect with them online. I happen to have 2 veterans in my UNIV 110 class. And it just hit me. I wonder if they even know about this. So I emailed them both, not till today, and sent them the link to it. But I'm just thinking, gosh, you know, I hope that they would be able to view this video. I'm so glad that you're recording this, Ashley, because I think that may be a way we may want to have a special thing that's available to the UNV and UNIV and other orientations for programs, classes, and for the faculty. Because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't think most of us know about the fantastic benefits that can happen for veterans and dependents, how important that is.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
and I'll shut up in just a minute, but also how counseling is available to all of
Yes.
them. And that may be what they need, because it is a change. The military is very regimented. I would never fit in it. I know that. That's okay. But Mercer is very different.
Yes,
And classes, college classes are very different here than at many other schools. So I just think that I'm thrilled that we have so many veterans and families who are here, because I think they really add a sense of reality to classes. And I say that as somebody who has taught in the Macon traditional program too. Having veterans in my class, or working adults in general, was always a bonus. It was really important. So those are just some suggestions to be able to do it so that they don't feel alone. They may feel a bit like a fish out of water. If we had any Navy people, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for now.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Lincoln. And yeah, you touched on some of the points that I was also going to get to as
Oh,
well.
good.
Again, with you, Colonel Washington, whenever, if you want to hop in, please let me know, because a lot of it is me asking questions, because I do think that the veteran students are an untapped resource at the regional academic centers that could, you know, we could really utilize to help engage other students and bring them in. And you also mentioned, Colonel Mahone, in one of your 8 points about creating a dedicated space.
yes.
You could elaborate on what that means and how that would benefit our students, and maybe how some of the campus departments could hone in on that as well. And then if any of you all can jump in on that too.
Sure. You know, here at Mercer, we have something called the Military Veteran Student Success Team. And it is our goal to, and I think Mr. Farmer brought this idea to us. There is this plan that we want to become what is it, Mr. Farmer?
Paid,
VSOC
it's
station
a
whereby
paid.
we will be able to have dedicated space at both campuses,
Mhm.
supported by VA sponsored personnel, counselors that they pay for, not Mercer. The only thing that we have to do is we are in the process of collaborating with other universities that we have those enterprise agreements with, so that we can get to the first point, which is we must have at least 800 veterans being served
Yeah.
by our partners in order to qualify for this space, for these counselors and support centers that we will stand up on the Atlanta campus, Macon campus, and possibly at the centers. Now, we will have to share those resources with places like Kennesaw, with University of West Georgia, the college out in Macon. Is that Middle Georgia State, Dr. Lincoln, I believe?
Well, that is one of the schools, but
One of the
Macon
schools.
State is a university now.
Okay, and I know that our ROTC in Macon is connected with several other colleges there in Central Georgia. So we are building this collaboration to get over that first hurdle of saying that we are going to be able to support 800 students. And once that happens, I think we will then really be able to have some dedicated space, paid for, compliments of the Department of Veteran Affairs.
That program that you have in reference to, Colonel Mahone,
Mhm.
the acronym is PAVE, and that stands for Peer Advisors for Veterans Education.
Yeah, that's the one that we were talking about too.
Yes, and with that program, that is something where veterans have a tendency to rally around one another because,
Right.
you know, with us being veterans, we have a tendency to have a common ground, a common brotherhood with
Yeah.
one another. And it makes it easier for us to talk with one another because of our experience and our adventures that we've had. And from there, lead into the academic arena so that we can be there to support one another. And one of the things that I think that what we're doing here with our Regional Academic Center is a recognition of a veteran by passing out these caps. Because, you know, and wearing this cap, I know I do get comments like, oh, are you a veteran? When I say yes, from there, the conversation begins and they feel that connection because that way they know that although I'm Air Force, they make fun of me, but yet and still they know that we have some common experiences. And, you know, because during my deployment, you know, going overseas twice, being there and well, anyway, just being deployed and coming in contact with soldiers, sailors, Marines, it's all one fight and everybody depends and counts on one another and respect one another for whatever their MOS or their AFSC or whatever their duty position is. And it creates a very strong bond.
Scott, does the 800, does that have to be actual veterans or can it be family members?
Family members too, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
We just have to
Oh.
have 800 people being served. And
Well-
I think that we will get there. I
Yeah.
just believe that. In fact, we've already made contact with the ROTC unit and the people down in Milledgeville at that college.
Mhm.
And
CMI?
they are very interested in collaborating with us in order to make that happen.
Well, we're like halfway there already, right?
Yes, ma'am. Halfway there.
It
In
was-
fact, I challenged the enrollment management team at our strategic planning meeting to help us to get to the other 400. And because, you know, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are finished. And so, you know, those folks are coming back home. And so here we go. Here's a grand opportunity. So we have to get out there and we have to make ourselves visible. This February, I will be traveling down to Fort Benning. I go every year to teach a war game in the Western Hemispheric Institute of Security Cooperation. And while I'm there, I always make it a point to get over to the units with information about Mercer programs. And would you believe it, there was a young man who was very interested, and he actually signed up for a master's degree in Atlanta, in which he drove from Columbus to Atlanta every Saturday. Now, that's someone who you drove right past Columbus State. And he says, no, I want a Mercer education because this is my pathway to nursing school. And that's what he wanted to do. And so
I mean,
it's just those small things.
Yeah, if you look at all the programs we have, all the people who were medics in the military,
Yes.
we have physician assistant, you know, we have all kinds of ways for them to be able to use what they learned and and get a further degree. Anyway, that's very exciting.
Absolutely. Now, just to give you an idea of where everybody is, in Atlanta, we have 65 veterans, 10 undergrad, 55 graduate. In law school, we got 6 veterans. In Macon, undergraduate, we have 117 undergrad and 6 graduate, for a total of 122. In medicine, we got 3. In nursing, we got 24. In pharmacy school, 28. At the centers, 106. And in theology, we got 5. So they are using their talents that they picked up, and they're converting it into something that's going to really be a high payoff target when they get their degree at Mercer.
Well, thank you. And I do have just another kind of general question geared towards you all, and then I'm going to end it with some very more Mercer specific tips, strategies that you would give students. But is there something that needs to be specialized differently for people that have different experiences in the military? I know Colonel Washington is the only woman veteran on this call, and all of you are African-American veterans. So is there something that we could address, or that you think Mercer could address, to those different subgroups that are in the military? Because one's military experience might not be another person's. So is there something that, like I said, ones could do, or the other departments could do, either counseling could do, specifically to serve the many different people who serve in our military forces?
Well, when it comes to counseling, you know, gratefully, I'm so grateful that Mercer finally was able to see the pressing need of adult students when it comes to counseling. And so the university, after much pushing, they have signed on with this wonderful company called Well Connect. It is a counseling company. And Dr. Lincoln, you probably know more about this than I do. But we started this back in fall 2019 is when the university agreed to a contract, which basically gives our students in Douglas and Henry County, as well as their family, 24/7 access to over 200 and some odd counselors across the state of Georgia. It's all generated by one simple email or a phone call, and they address many issues, more than just counseling, but financial, legal, housing. They help veterans, you know, if they feel like they need to connect with a counselor, they help them to find that resource. And we're trying to get the program open and extended to all veterans at any location. The university first wanted to do the first one was just with Douglas and Henry County students and families, and that has really panned out really well. And we've approached Bates Cannon in our counseling department and spoke to him about the feasibility of opening up to all our veterans. And the number will probably increase only by about 200. So I'm hoping that the university will do that, and that will give veterans yet an additional resource that they can reach out and touch if they need help, if they feel like they need help, or they're stressed out, or they're having difficulties, marital problems, you know, having trouble focusing on what they got to do. And we get these reports from Well Connect that we share with the leadership, so they'll know that this money that they're spending is worthwhile. And so I'm hoping that they will open the door for all of our veterans, so they can also, you know, take part in this Well Connect program.
Okay. Okay, well, I don't know. I thought I heard Mr. Farmer. Maybe I didn't.
No.
Oh, okay. So these last round of questions are really just kind of, like I said, Mercer specific for students who are coming in. What advice would you give to a veteran who is looking to have some career advice, someone to look at their resume for any government or civilian jobs, or if they're trying to find, their major or what might best fit them for a degree that they want to pursue at Mercer?
Yes,
Where
ma'am.
can they go? What are some resources for them?
The best place at Mercer University is the Center for Career and Professional Development. That office is equipped to do just that. Like for instance, if you go out here in the lobby today, they have a beautiful display. Kim Meredith is very passionate about what she does. And she is really our expert when it comes to all things HR. I know Dr. Lincoln is also an expert in human resources, and she's well connected too. But that is the first place that I would tell them to go see Kim Meredith. At every new student orientation, I foot stomp her name, and I tell them, don't wait until you're applying for graduation to start a relationship with her. Do it now, so that by the time you do get ready to decide on a career path, then you'll have some idea and better understanding, and she'll get them in Handshake, this beautiful portal that we have, where they'll actually be able to start thinking about transitioning after Mercer.
Yeah.
That's the best place. And then they need to come and see once. Yeah.
Well, yes, they please come and see us.
Yeah, they need to come see y'all. Because
Yes.
y'all do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to helping students to find their way.
Yeah.
Okay. And if a student is having issues with their GI Bill or is unclear of how their benefits work, what path do they need to do for that?
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we have this thing called the Military Veteran Student Success Team. It is comprised of myself. Let's see who else is on this thing. Oop, that's not it. It is comprised of myself. Let me find. My goodness. Yes, here we go. Myself, Denise Frazier down in Macon, because she's the VA representative there. Diana Hill, she's the registrar in Atlanta. And for information regarding career and professional development services, Kim Meredith, she's also on this as well. And we have someone for third-party billing that helps our active duty students with their tuition assistance. And that would be Hannah down in Macon in the registrar's office. So we have the resources available. We have a whole team of folks who are really focused on helping veterans understand their entitlements. We know how to push all the chapters through from chapter 30, 31, 33, chapter 35. All of those chapters, students will walk in and they ask, okay, so what am I eligible for? We can help them to understand that really, really clearly. And so they just need to just contact us.
Okay.
To that very
Oh.
point, Carmon, I'd like to add that within the state of Georgia, the Georgia Department of Veterans Services will also assist veterans who are attending school and make them aware of their benefits. And as you mentioned earlier, help them, especially if they are 100% disabled,
Yes.
make them aware a little bit more in detail of some of the benefits that they're eligible for. And of course, there's the national organization for this region. Their office is out of Muskogee County in Missouri. And they also will help. So those are some other sources that they can drill down on a little bit more where if they need additional assistance.
Okay.
Now,
And
now, Colonel Washington also does something very unusual. Colonel Washington, you want to tell them about the Veteran Support Group and the work that you do down there to support veterans here in Henry County?
Well, Veteran Support Group is a charitable organization whose focus is to assist veterans with their benefits. They have, I believe they're called, I can't remember what they're called, but they have folks who are trained to help veterans fill out the necessary paperwork if they haven't done anything with benefits, get into the system. They can, focus on the medical or the education or whatever benefits. And they, again, they're a charitable organization, so it's all for free. They're just in the business of assisting veterans, and that's in downtown McDonough.
Okay. I know well, this was a while ago. You might remember this, Colonel Mahone. We had I believe he was a veteran. He had a dog, and he needed, I think he had someone to sit in class with him that
Yes.
help him take notes and everything. So is that the type of services that they would be able to get? Like, if they were to need that, I can refer them to Colonel Washington's program or somewhere else in the community? Or I know you all would know where to refer them.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good place too. But we do have Rich Silly, who is, and there's a team in Macon too, and they are called Access and Accommodations. And so anyone that has a documented disability, we always refer them to that office. And they're the ones who can really get the ball rolling to help veterans who are in need of service animals, if that is in fact the case, or if they need special equipment in classrooms, if they need additional study time, they'll get it documented. We had a veteran here that I want to say last semester, who, you could tell he really had a very difficult outcome in a combat situation. And so his wife was sort of being there with him. And so they went through the process, and they are doing well. So access and accommodation, that would be the first place to start.
Okay. And is there I was reading, Mr. Farmer has sent me some programs that other schools have started to adopt for their veterans. And is there a network of veteran faculty that students can, or excuse me, that reaches out to students? Or I know you mentioned earlier identifying those people with the same background that maybe students can go to. And is that something that you all have done in the past, or think that would be beneficial to do for students coming in?
I don't know if we've ever had anything like that. Mercer's disconnectedness, which is one of our strengths, I believe, makes it very difficult for us to do that, because we're in 7 different locations across Central Georgia. And so we sort of rely heavily on our certifying officials, and we tell instructors, if they have veterans in their classes, we give every student one of these beautiful little Bare Essentials, or we send it to them if they're taking classes online. All of our contact information is on the very last page, and so they know how to reach out to us. I don't know, Dr. Lincoln may know of if they do anything during their faculty meetings or to talk about it, but to my knowledge, that isn't something that's prevalent here at Mercer right now.
Okay. Okay, well, we are getting close to time. And before I do wrap this up, is there any one other thing that you all would like to say or contribute or suggest that we can support our veterans in future endeavors, and something that we can do more, excuse me, more regularly, not just wait for Veterans Day, that we can do on a regular basis, or speak to the needs that they may have?
I know that we do have this program, it's called Research Opportunity. And I think this would be, I'd say to a certain extent, appealing to veterans because of such a diverse background that we have. And this is particularly for new students who are interested in completing a degree. And what it takes for them to get involved in this is that they will take, best way I can describe it is like, I'd say an aptitude test. It's about, say maybe a 2 or 3 hour test. And that way it will help as far as them identify some of their areas of interest. And with this program, this is where Dr. Dina Schwam can be able to conduct this study with them and be able to, assist them and point them in the right direction or a direction where they may not be aware that they have a particular interest in.
Okay.
And I do have a flyer that has her information on it, if, that way, that'd be something you could, have in your resume as a means of interest for them.
Yes, I would love to have that in addition to the 8 points that you mentioned at the top of the program, Colonel Mahone. So I'll be
sure. to-
But yes,
Send it to
both
you.
of you, thank you for providing those resources. So thank you for all who were able to join. Dr. Lank, I see you, Julie. Thank you for coming in. And Colonel Washington, it was nice to meet you and thank you for your insight. This will be uploaded on our YouTube channel and the Diversity and Inclusion YouTube channel as well. So this was, like I said, just an informal conversation to see what we can do and what needs to be done, just to maybe spark some ideas of how we can better serve our students. So thank you again. Pam, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Oh, no, I'm good. I'm just very happy to be a part of it and be a part of Mercer. And we do thank you all for your service. I know that it is not only just service, it is a sacrifice. And I think a lot of these ideas are going to help us to be able to relate to our veteran students and their families.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you again, Colonel Mahone, and thank you for educating me. I didn't know that Space Force was part of the a new.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
maybe in the next couple of years, we can have somebody speak to that.
Mhm.
Me. But so again, thank you all for coming. And if I have any questions, I know where to reach you all and you all can reach me. So with that being said, enjoy your evening.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye,
again.
everybody.
Right.
Great.